Beautiful.
Okay, now I can get back into my Roman podcasting pose.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, for the listeners at home, I have embraced having a couch, which means that I podcast the traditional way, which is
lounging.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I pick at the treats that Kieran places in front of me. Gorge myself with Europe.
Yeah. This does make me think, when did we start doing upholstered furniture? Like, as humanity?
I have no idea.
Because I know you keep referencing this Roman lounging pose that you do, but I always imagine Romans doing that on just like a bare slab of marble, and it's like that must suck.
Surely,
That's probably not what they were sitting on.
No, surely upholstered furniture has been around for thousands of years.
Yeah, one would.
I mean, think of the concept of it. It is just literally like a frame, leather of some sort, or cloth.
Yeah.
Like, they should have been like, clearly someone along the line was like, boy howdy, if we stuff this with like wool or something, it'll make it more comfortable. Yeah, sure, anything.
I know.
Sand?
I think
don't
there's
know.
like a hard line in civilization where before that, hard furniture and cushions were just two separate technology, commonly ranged together, but never physically joined.
Maybe you're right.
And then at one point we were just like, what if the cushion was just physically attached?
Maybe it's like one of those things like arches where like they existed for a while and then we forgot how to do them.
Yeah, actually it's a lost technology. No one knows how to upholster furniture.
Yeah. Same thing like Greek fire.
Impossible.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know how to upholster furniture anymore.
Lol. Anyway.
European stuff. The news. I don't know. The world.
The world. Hey. Welcome to your weekly Corner Späti. It is me, Kieran, and I am joined by Nick.
Hello.
And today we've got the goddamn news because I've been on Eurovision brain for the last while, as you can probably tell from the last episode we did. And we did Eurovision and stuff like that. So yeah, and we took a break from releasing, a main episode. It's probably been a while since you've heard from us. So there's stuff to catch up on. Speaking of which, first of all, Eurovision update.
I do love that Eurovision for you is like an earthquake. Like it happens, and then like the probably like next 5 episodes that we have will be the aftershocks.
I think I'm expecting it to die down. I feel like it's already slowing down in terms of updates. Because it moves from like stuff. So like, okay, I guess the first piece of news, and I can relate to like how this goes through the media, is that like we've now got a shit ton of broadcasters who are asking for an investigation and what the fuck just happened, basically. Which are Slovenian national broadcaster, Spanish national broadcaster, Portuguese, Finnish, Dutch, Icelandic, Norwegian, and Irish national broadcasters, as well as both Belgian national broadcasters, are now asking for an investigation, right?
Weirdly enough, actually, the UK's entry was an omen of what the hell just happened.
I did enjoy like the head of the Israeli delegation was just like, the jury robbed us. If only we got 40 more points, we would have won. To which everyone's quote tweeted with like videos of that entry, of the British entry, being like, if only we just got 400 more points, we would have won. We were robbed.
Yeah, if only I won,
Yeah, if only I won. So I think actually, sorry, I think the BBC is also asking for an investigation. What the hell just happened?
What the hell just happened? Exactly.
What the hell just happened?
If only there was a song for this.
It's Yeah, so it's building up, and I think in terms of like how this news gets disseminated is super interesting because now that I'm back in Ireland, and for a lot of people who know me, I'm Mr. Too Damn Eurovision. Um, they're asking like, "Oh, do you think it was bots or rigged in some way?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." Everyone seems to, but just like due to diplomacy reasons, no, like very few people are saying it out loud. Because like that's what all the national broadcasters or a lot of them are doing. Like the Norwegian one was just like, "We have to investigate the vote." Why? You know why? Don't mention it. But we have to investigate it. And then like people in Ireland only found out that broadcasters are investigating this when the Irish broadcaster said that they would also investigate it. So I had the unfortunate news of breaking it to some people I know here who was like, no, Ireland wasn't the first to call for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually like
We will not
Spain, and
stand
then
for
like
for the 10 points that went to the Israeli delegation.
yeah. We do need someone with an Ulster accent to
Absolutely.
yeah,
You know what? Yeah,
remember.
Ireland. Get to it.
Mm.
Do what must be done. Make the video. You know how to make the video.
um yeah, so a bunch of televotes breakdowns have been released. The Belgian one was the most damning because they released the breakdown of the votes for the last 3 years from Belgium, and it's just like whenever Belgian can vote, their vote like doubles. Basically, whenever they can vote for Israel, their vote doubles. And people have also the viewership figures came out, and even though the televote almost doubled for Belgium, their viewership almost halved between this year and last year. So it's like, no, come on, fuck off. Let's see. Pedro Sanchez officially called for Israel to be kicked out of the competition. I
Bravo.
think I'm
I mean, I think we talked about that
yeah,
last episode, no, or the bonus
yeah episode.
episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just
the
going
one
through
that then
the.
really, like, the one where
Mm,
really, like, got to give Kieran his flowers here
mm,
was when you were talking about that. Oh, the way that we'll know it's serious is if then like the artists who just performed will
yeah,
start.
the 2025
Yeah,
artists.
the 2025 artists when they start picking up steam for asking Israel to be kicked out, and I think that this happened significantly quicker than
Oh
both
yeah.
you and I. Well, I know nothing about this. I'm simply along for the ride here. But because last time we talked, Finland kind of like said, "Hey, like the Israel vote's fake." Tommy Cash said that he was number two, really.
Yeah.
But now the winner of Eurovision, JJ of Austria,
Mm.
is like,
That that was also one I was not expecting, even though I was like, oh yeah, well, it'll pick up steam when I see more musicians from this year talk about it. Um, because none of them are backstage doing like cutesy videos with the
yeah,
Israeli act. Like the brand is toxic, so they all kind of hate them. We know it, but like the and I was like, oh, well, when we see more people, that's when we know it's serious. But at the same time, I was still like, I don't expect the winner to say anything. There's too much
I
limelight on
think
the
it was,
winner.
yeah, like I very much. I mean, they're kind of the perfect person to do it too, because being,
Mm,
like they're what Filipino Austrian,
yeah.
right, and queer, and definitely kind of like
Mm,
fits the progressive background of what you would assume then their politics probably to be, you
yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
to some some level of that. And also too, I think Austria, although Austria is plagued a bit by their own like anti-Deutsch movement, um, doesn't
Yeah.
have the stifling atmosphere of Germany as much.
We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that with like some more realer news later in the
Yeah.
episode, like not Eurovision related. But yeah, Austria's been like kind of surprising me lately. Um Going into other stuff that is worth mentioning and trying to weed out the stuff that I've already mentioned in the last episode. Oh, a report in a Turkish newspaper is claiming that like Germany is 100% the reason why Israel is like not getting investigated after like their shenanigans last year and stuff. As well as probably going to fight for them this year. So Yep, that's not terribly surprising, but someone's at least gotten an EBU insider to confirm this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, because I saw now, like, the most recent polling for Germany of just support for Israel is like down to like 20%.
Yeah.
So it's like the thing of, I mean, we've talked about this before, how like ARD, like the woman who runs ARD is married to a very high up CDU official. The idea that then
Yeah.
that like the ARD like, which is very funny because like conservatives complain about, oh, the ARD is too woke or whatever, some bullshit nonsensical culture war thing. But the ARD is very much just a typical mouthpiece of like kind of like bullshit German Staatsräson nonsense, which is no surprise, of course, but even to the sense of that, then it's like when you do like look behind the curtain, it is just like typical German corruption, like
Yeah.
it is. I don't like. Maybe this is more common in other countries, and I just don't really recognize it. But like the level of like which like German media people are like married into politics is so fucking weird.
Yeah, I know, I think it's pretty common for anyone that has it's a national broadcaster phenomenon, I think.
Yeah.
Actually no, I'd say it happens with private media too, but I think it's kind of just
I mean,
viewed
yeah,
as
like
more
there
egregious
is.
when it's national broadcaster.
I guess I find it more. Um, it's a pretty normal thing in the United States that like everyone who's on CNN or like Fox News is like in a relationship somehow with some freak from either the Democratic or Republican Party.
Well, it's the nature of it's the nature of Washington D.C., right? There's two jobs,
Yeah,
like political
media
staffer
or
and reporter.
pedophile.
um yeah, so like yeah, so I like there's shit like this in RT, there's shit like this in BBC as well. I'm sure this is also true for like SVT in Sweden or whatever, that you've got just kind of that like association, bunch of politicos marrying each other effectively. Um did we mention on the last episode the whole Martin Osterdahl's probably fired thing?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
For you, the listener, go back and listen to our last bonus episode.
Yeah. Um let's see. Oh, and then the last one would be just like, so Benjamin Netanyahu is like claiming that Israel is the real winner. They're taking the kind of like they unfortunately, everything that we have done in the past with Eurovision is just turning to ash in our mouth, because they've basically taken the Carrier argument that we had, of like, oh, Carrier won with the televote, he's the real winner, fuck Loreen, fuck not Euphoria, whatever that song was called, Euphoria, Tattoo.
Yeah.
Because Tattoo was supported by juries, but we supported Carrier, the people's champ. Israel has now taken that argument to say that they're the real winners of Eurovision because they won the televote, which is
Yeah, the level of articles that then I've just seen come out being like Israel's actually stronger than expected. It's like, no, like everyone still actually hates you. You just faked the vote.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
everyone in the room knows it except for like just the like typical like snot-nosed German cuck. That's it. It's
and
you. It's you and your disgusting best friend and no one else. Everyone else in the world is literally like, yeah, we know you did the thing that then Europe is afraid Russia's going to always do, and you actually do it, and no one actually cares because you're a special little stupid fucking boy.
yeah. It's and they'll just ignore that like every national broadcaster is like, let's look into this. What the fuck's going on? Um, the director of media for Eurovision said on Belgian radio earlier today that the discussion of Israel being in the competition is now being looked into, as well as Martin Green, the guy who effectively has replaced Martin Osterdahl, as like the new head of the Eurovision Song Contest, also released an open letter saying that they're going to look into two things, which is stopping the whole 20 votes per payment method system, and just like saying, like, online vote means probably just like one vote, right? And then the other thing being that they're going to make advertising your song illegal, like the whole ad campaign stuff. Um, so in classic Eurovision kind of diplomacy nonsense, it's a lot of like, we're addressing the problem. Do you want to state what that problem is? No, we all know what it is. Please don't make us.
Yeah, Germany has a cannon pointed at me. I can't say it. I legally cannot say it.
I can't say it. But let's just say it starts with an I, it ends with an L, and there's a whole lot of Zray inside. So yeah, it's kind of, that's very frustrating. The whole like, I've seen people get very frustrated, just like say what the fucking problem is. We all know what the problem is, but at least this is happening, so that's something, right? Also, in a kind of classic Kieran sense, very few people on the left pay attention to the actual minutia of what happens at Eurovision. So I just feel the need to say all this stuff on the podcast for like archival purposes more than anything.
Yeah, you're the Eurovision scribe.
Yeah, I don't like. Am I saying this stuff because I necessarily think it's going to like result in Israel being kicked out? I'm probably like 40% it will, 60% it won't. But I think it's a bit more heartening because I've seen lots of people on the left, like good, fellow travelers, just think that like that vote was legitimate. That like,
Oh, yeah. I've seen people be like, I've seen so many people being like, wow, like look at like, can't believe like Europe's still fascist. And it's like, no, this is not real. Like, I know that then it's like, we love there is this trap that the left gets into, especially with the Israel stuff, where they do, I don't know if you want to call it black pilled or whatever, but then like, because I see that then the left falls either for just like a lot of the times just completely fake stuff that just like makes them angry, or they fall for this type of shit, which is like, the reality is that actually like, no, people do hate Israel. This is a way that then that like it actually is shown, but Israel just fakes it. And like there, which I guess I can like understand the perspective of coming a bit from, everything is shit. Your first reaction to then seeing something must then be that oh well, it's shit, and then therefore I'm justified because this kind of like backs up my worldview of like, actually Europe is fascist. They do actually like overwhelmingly support Israel, even though all the actual like data and such shows that to be actually quite the opposite. It is just the typical problem of states don't typically reflect the public's opinion very well in Europe, just in general. There's very few countries where that's true, and which is very odd, because these are the same people that then will like give you the spiel about how like state market relations are to like preserve capitalism. It's like, how do you not see this then as being the same thing? It is going against your interests. The support of Israel definitely fits into this thing that then, same thing with like the NATO thing in Germany, like, which I guess is a little bit iffier now, but before the Ukraine war, Germany was like overwhelmingly like anti-NATO and shit.
There's two things that I think that are also at play there, which is like, one, if you're like advocating for Palestinian rights and have done so for a long time, especially in places like Germany or the United States, that's always been like this incredible uphill battle that like, I know it can be very hard to believe that the tide is changing on that when you've been at it for so long. I genuinely do think the tide is changing, especially
I do think so too. And I also like the thing that then I always kind of try to mention in like not always, but if it does come up in the sense of when people are like, oh well, especially with like the Germany aspect of like, yes, Germany from the outside seems psychotic. Yes, the anti-Deutsche Bewegung is like stupid and internationally made fun of, but we make fun of the Germans all the time, rightfully so. They're a bit goofy, but I do think that the average person here doesn't want, like, they see the complete annihilation of Gaza. They're not stupid, you know.
Yeah.
I know that then from just like seeing it, at face value of interacting with like liberal Germans, where they kind of like quietly tell you like, no, like you're right, but like they're like, I remember when I
Yeah.
was like at the Frankfurter Buchmesse and like handing out papers for one of the only publications that then was actually reporting on Gaza properly, in my opinion. And people from like, things like Frankfurter Rundschau and like, from the like, from other publications and whatnot that are quite liberal, coming and being like, oh no, like, this, you guys are reporting the right thing, but they are very
Yeah.
quiet about it. And it's, which is unfortunate that then the German media landscape is as such that then if these people do, um, you know, kind of come out and mention something, they're blacklisted. And Germany, like, this is, I guess, then the thing too, as well, is that then I explained this to someone the other day. I remember we had this conversation in private of that. Then,
Mm.
like, Germany actually is a very authoritarian country when it comes to criticizing how the like government is behaving. Like, you can't like
Mm.
really like talk shit about Friedrich Merz in like a normal way. Um, you can only really just be like, oh well, the CDU's policy might not be good. You can't be like Friedrich Merz is a loser. Like that is like not allowed. Or like
But yeah, it's politeness as a means of
yeah,
controlling
or like
conversation.
how
Yeah.
like your rights in the face of the police are actually like kind of very iffy sometimes, because Germany tends, like, it's this very weird kind of dynamic of that. Then like Germany gives a lot of authority to these areas that then actually aren't like the legal authority, but
Mm.
because they're so overpowering, it kind of then creates its own version of like an authoritarian sort of, and I hate using that word, but it's like the police can do all this stuff that's very brutal, or the state can do all this stuff that's very brutal. It gets deemed as illegal, but it still ends up happening, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Police have always operated like that. The other thing, going back to that kind of like almost pessimistic pessimistic attitude we see on the left, is there is this bigger conversation or bigger thing to be had that I think upsets a lot of people. It upsets me too as well. Which you have, like, the conclusion that you have to accept, that if the public in Germany, United States, Ireland, UK, France, all of Europe, whatever, is on the side of Palestine, but it's the institutions that are not, then that's kind of great on one side. I love that the on the same side as just my neighbors or whatever. At the same time, it also forces you to reckon with the question of like, what does this mean for public pressure? Um, what does this mean for public pressure? Because it's like, if the public is on your side, then why aren't pressure campaigns working anymore? And it kind of goes along with like this desire, I see it in Ireland all the time, to turn like Irish politics into like more American politics, which is to say like spectator sport, where like you view elections the same way that I would view a match between two football teams I could totally name, such as anyway, but
Go on. Yeah, we love
like
it.
yeah, when I
Sportsman
watch
Kieran.
when I watch sports ball, nothing I do as a spectator can affect the outcome of the match. I can cheer for someone, that's it. And you there's this really awkward kind of question of like, things regarding Israel at the moment do feel like they're changing, especially on an institutional level. And the question you have to reckon with is like, why didn't any of the pressure campaigns seem to contribute to that? In a way that's kind of like upsetting for the left, because it kind of brings into question the whole idea of how this works, right? Of like, but we get the people and then we get the change.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I think it is something too that then that we all have kind of um like underestimated,
hmm,
like the stranglehold of policies towards this literal U.S. imperial outposts are, much more fortified, I guess, than like people were expecting. And the yeah, it is like kind of this thing too of like eventually, as like you've as we've kind of mentioned, it's like I do think then that it'll be like this kind of like domino effect of like, one country will then kind of start doing something, or like let's say that then that a government changes in like a country or something like that, having, because it's a very interesting thing that then I guess like in the global south, it's not that much of a question, like the countries
No.
and going and supporting, Israel, supporting, like the ICJ ruling, and like just the general court case and coming on the side of against Israel and whatnot,
Yeah.
where then like there is, it's also then I guess in the sense too of tying into the, like how important the West is as well in all this, of like, yes, fine, like Israel is allowed to continue doing this stuff solely based on the relationship with one country, which is the United
Yeah.
States, you
Yeah.
know? So, and
Which
that support's not going to disappear.
not anytime soon, certainly. Um, that does actually lead us to next topic I
Oh,
wanted to
perfect.
talk
That I
about.
gave us a great transition.
Yeah. Which is just like, so going on to this whole idea of like, I do feel like some things are changing on an institutional level, and that's kind of a problem because I don't really have a good analysis as to why. Um, but like in the last couple of days, we've seen a Dutch EU level proposal of like halting and re-examining the EU Israel trade agreement that was meant to happen. That got like the qualified majority support from the European nation, like EU nations, to like be halted. Kind of seems like the Dutch spearheaded it, but it happened because it got the backing of France, as well as just to list off the countries that stopped to like halted this and says like, hey, we need to look at the, sorry, not even trade arrangement. I keep getting that
It's a
confused. The entire
diplomatic
EU is
relation. Yeah.
diplomatic, like entire like diplomatic relationship, to be paused and re-examined. So Netherlands, Spain, Ireland, Belgium, Finland, France, Luxembourg, Portugal, Slovenia, Slovakia, Sweden, Austria, Malta, Denmark, Estonia, Poland, and Romania, all in favor. Against, no surprises, Germany, Greece, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Italy, Croatia, Lithuania, Hungary, and Latvia abstained. For some
It
reason
is
I don't
so
understand.
funny. When I originally saw this, the thing that then made me laugh the most about it was not obviously the, you know, Germany, of course, but how
Yeah.
cucked Greece is. Like,
Yeah, right.
that really
Yeah.
just shows the sense of like Greece, a country that then is legitimately very anti-Semitic, and legitimately like a lot of people hate Israel because they are legit anti-Semites.
Mm.
Um, yeah, no way in hell that then that the like the general population of Greece is like, oh no, we like Israel. Like that's just an
Oh yeah.
overwhelming like, we get it. You are a like Kyriakos Mitsotakis is just the like viceroy on behalf of Germany.
Yeah. So it's yeah, it's strange because this is also true for like a lot of the Italian population as well. But
Oh
like
yeah,
the
my
government,
god. Another one, legit anti-Semitic country.
I should also say, as well as a lot of Italians who are against Israel for good reasons.
No, of
Um,
course, of course. I just like Southern Europe is
yeah.
just, I mean, Germany, of course, is also insanely anti-Semitic in its own way, but
Mm,
I feel that then it's in the much odder version now of like, yes, the Jews are much more special than us, therefore
mm.
they have secret powers. Where like Italy and Greece probably have the like, and France too, like old school anti-Semitism is very much like a
Oh yeah.
a vibrant part of that country or those countries.
I guess like in terms of like, but just re-emphasizes this kind of idea of like institutional divorce from
Yeah.
like actual people's politics, which is unfortunate. This happening, as well as the like the statement from the UK, Canada, and France that also looks like France might be threatening sanctions. Or sorry, the UK have they gone with like piddly ones where they went after
Yeah.
a handful of settlers again in the West Bank, but like still, it's anyway. It resulted in Benjamin Netanyahu saying that Keir Starmer's on the side of like Hamas, which is a funny image to imagine. But so the issue I have with all of this, which is to say, like, I don't really know what's happened to change this. Israel has like been blockading Gaza and has ramped up the violence to a certain extent, but in a way that's not like feels too materially different from what they were doing before.
Yeah.
Like, it's been bad. It's just been bad for longer now. For a longer period of time. It also doesn't seem to be that like, oh, this has gone on for X amount of time and now we're upset. Seems to be the stated reason for any of these people. They kind of seem to be saying like, oh, it's gone too far. You need to let aid in, but there was plenty of time which aid was not being let in. Confusing.
Yeah. This has been. I mean, we've talked about this on the show multiple times in the sense of remember. I mean, this is like the last time that this was a big thing was there were aid trucks that then were being. The groups that were attacking them were wild. It was Israeli settlers, just in general. It was also ISIS.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, don't know if there's any relation between ISIS and the Israeli state. I'll get back to you on that when I find out about Operation Good Neighbor. But yeah, I mean, this is not the first time where then either aid trucks have been halted from entering the country, as you know you were saying before, or that they have been ransacked. Or
that time they blew up Global Food Kitchen.
Yeah. You know, I mean, this is just a, you know, we're past the time period now where it's like Israel doesn't even like do like a press memo anymore of like, oh, we attacked a hospital because Hamas. It's like, oh no, like, you know, I'm like,
yeah, we attacked a hospital because we felt like it. Is
yeah.
Justification, yeah. I have two pet theories as to why the EU is suddenly acting like this. Both of which cannot be substantiated in any way and are wild conjecture. I'm just going to put that out there. Theory number one is this is consolidation. Europe is like, we're now going to be left holding the bag in terms of Ukraine. We need to get out of all these other entanglements. Like, leave Israel to America if they want to continue doing that or not, whatever, who gives a shit? That's not our problem. We're now going to like put all of our chips into Ukraine, and yeah, it's a consolidation thing. Some people have suggested it's maybe because they're like, the EU leaders have suddenly realized where a bunch of pushed out Palestinians are probably going to end up, which is Europe, and they're afraid of like refugee crisis, repeating Syria, etc., etc. I don't know if they're thinking that far ahead. The other theory that I'm thinking about goes back to the whole like various post World War II European countries do have legal ramifications if they are seen to be aiding and abetting genocide. And luckily for them, that only goes into effect as soon as something is ruled as genocide. Who do we defer to that? International Criminal Court.
Which Hungary just left.
What?
Hungary just left them.
Yeah, but they also voted against this. So like...
No, I know that, but it's like that's just the thing too. Is that then the extra like ridiculous thing of this is that then the like New Jerusalem of neo-Nazism, which loves Israel, has like made their. And it's one of the things too of just like I wonder in the sense of how much stuff Orban can do before he just starts becoming like, I mean, I don't know what the vibe in Hungary is, but it just like he wants to be just like an island of like I love the US.
Yeah, and also in a very specific way because like Orbanism is quite distinct from Trumpism in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, it is like this like massive new economic, like massive like state economic kind of like national economy, I guess is the best way to call it, right? Of like the state's actually heavily involved in maintaining these like in maintaining kind of like a standard of living where like the kind of Trump version of things is still very like neoliberal, even though people want to be like, oh, Trump is like, I think one of the things that then defines Trump as like not really being a fascist is still the like hyper deregulation shit that he does. Like he's still very American in that kind of sense. Where Orban's very hands-on things, very racially like divided too in Hungary.
Oh, yeah.
Or also on this like the straight behalf of Germany sort of economic policies like the slave law thing.
But getting back to why I think the EU might suddenly be acting like this is I wonder if some sort of intelligence agency has come back to them and said the ICC ruling is going to come back in favor of genocide. Like that someone has been told this is going to happen and they're getting out now before there's legal ramifications. Because a lot of this stuff is like, a lot of it's like fines and shit against companies. Like it has like an economic impact. So they're just like, let's get out now. And that way the history books can be rewritten to say like, oh, we were against this the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
those are my two theories. I have nothing else to go off of, though.
I think also too that we're like reaching the point as well where like, because we've talked about this plenty of times before of like 20 years from now Europe will pretend that they were always against this, know, and there is kind of the beginning of like covering their like, I mean, it's the same thing about like, especially when you like learn about like apartheid in like the United States. Like, oh, apartheid was such this bad system. Nelson Mandela, this and that. And that. It's like, yeah, Nelson Mandela, a designated terrorist in the West until like the 2000s or whatever. And then like you hear about, oh, he spent all of his time in prison. You're like, oh, well, why is that? And then like you never in like generic U.S. history until you like actually get to like university, then realize, oh yeah, the United States was like supporting this entire thing from or just the West in general. And then
CIA
we're gonna
tipped off like Boss a couple of times as to where he could be found and stuff like that. And,
and it is this is going to end up, of course, in a very similar way, or then everyone's just going to like in 20 years be like, oh, how did Israel manage to like genocide? Like, I don't know. I don't want to know what the final number is going to be. It's going to be just, I mean, the number already is been,
an underestimation.
Yeah. Like I don't, and kind of, we'll hear these things, oh, 1 million Palestinians died because we just, the world didn't speak up. It's like, no, like they did, to say that then that like people didn't do anything is fucking stupid. Europe just, either imprisoned them or made I mean, like the latest, not even in just Germany. I think we overstate this a bit with Germany because we like, I live here, but, we ignore France, for example, and their the censorship that France has been doing. We ignore, of course, the UK, which is another country that then like overwhelmingly has pushed back on Palestinian activists and whatnot. But
they all have, just in like in different ways. I think the only difference really between the UK and Germany is that the like UK's media class isn't completely captured in favor of Israel. Like Channel 4 was doing some decent independent reporting. Channel 4 was the one who were just like, yeah, this tape that the IDF released, we showed it to some people who spoke Arabic and they're like, this is garbage Arabic. This is
the German media class is like alone on its own level.
Yeah. But like police repression, like it's very similar. It kind of depends on where your police repression were, because like if we remember the various university student protests, like the French police acted very French policely and shut it down immediately with like truncheons holding truncheons. Like it was bad, but also in a way that was like, oh yeah, that's what the French police do. Whereas I don't know, like demonstrations in Spanish universities, Irish universities, UK universities were allowed to go on a little bit without police repression, but like the media still viewed them as like politically inconvenient, naive children or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's bad all around.
Perfect transition again.
Transitioning again. Well, kind of similar. We have to talk about its return of It's Going So Well news, which is now a recurring bit of when I just, find a bunch of news stories that illustrate the changing global order, because it's getting a little nutty. First, that happened right before we started recording, is Trump announcing that the EU is going to get 50% tariffs. And then hilariously was just like, in a fun way, I loved seeing it being reported, was like, oh, starting next month. And I was like, oh yeah, we got a month to figure this out. I was like, no, he means in like a week. He means June 1st.
I still think that Trump doesn't know what a tariff is.
No,
which is like it is the funniest thing where he's like, we're gonna make Europe pay. It's like, no, you make your own importers pay those. Like,
yeah,
the goods of things in the European Union are not going to get more expensive or whatever. Like, yeah, sure, fine, U.S. goods will be, but like, Europe doesn't need a lot. I mean, I guess maybe I'm not going to speak too soon, but I do think that Europe can pivot to get their goods somewhere else easier than the United States can to other countries
when buyers.
Yeah, like yeah. And especially just in the sense as well that again, Trump thinks it works the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, that's we've seen this from like the Financial Times getting people who work for what's his name, Maros Shefčovič, like people who are on his team, like he's the head negotiator of the EU. They've kind of come back with similar things, like people who work for him being like, yeah, we don't know what to do because it's impossible to negotiate with these people. They don't really seem to.
They don't know what this is. Yeah, exactly.
They don't know what a tariff is. They don't know what they want. Like realists writing in Foreign Policy magazine are just kind of like, yeah, you need allies to conduct.
Yeah. Like, I think one of the best examples of this recently in the U.S. was, I forget what their name is, one of like Trump's like nominees for some justice thing or whatever, was like, she was defending Trump's deportations by then saying it falls under habeas corpus. And so someone's like, do you know what habeas corpus is? And she's like, yes, it's the president's right to deport people.
Circular logic, baby. We're back.
Like, and this is an entire administration of this type of absolute moron.
Yeah. No, it's kind of stupid. Like, it's like we've said this endlessly. It's poor planning, right, on the part of like trying to alienate the European Union, which is the European Union is quite unique on the global stage because like there's two giant advanced economies in the global stage, and that's the United States and the EU. You have a handful of other advanced economies that could be like, consumers of manufactured goods out there, but they're a lot smaller, like your Canada, your Japan, your Australia. Whereas like EU and US are the biggest, and makes the EU quite unique on the global stage. And at the same time, like, America's being bullish and weird, and the trade deal they got with the UK is so fucking upsettingly stupid and bad. Like the whole like the US has to approve every like Chinese investment into the UK.
Yeah. The what are they called? Their is it import? There's a name for it. Yeah, in order to then be able to trade with the United States, you have to block Chinese goods, which is like one of the stupidest things I've ever heard of in my life. Also, because at the end of the day, I do think that then when push comes to shove, the rest, like Europe, it could just turn to China. I mean, they're a far more stable.
Arms,
like. Yeah, I mean, like as we've joked about with Sanchez, loving his time with Xi Jinping.
Yeah, two Ken dolls smacking against each other.
Oh, Maron, we fucking loved it. But like there is, there very much is this thing of like, as we've mentioned like weeks ago, where it was like internally within the European Union, they're like, yeah, we're fine. Like the pivot towards China is like something that then could very well
Yeah.
happen. And the U.S. tries to then give him like the boogeyman thing of like, oh, well, actually, all the stuff that the United States does to you, like spying on you, this and this and this, whatever, China could also do that to you. Like, remember, Trump won, was the one who like went around to Europe telling people to like rip out their like Huawei,
Yeah.
5G and shit like that. And some like in moronic countries did it, you know?
Yeah, and then at the same time, because there wasn't like with a lot of Trump stuff, there wasn't this backup plan. It actually ended up benefiting a European company quite well because you know who swept in
Ericsson,
to
wasn't
fill
it?
that gap? Nokia.
Oh, yes. It's the same company, isn't it?
No, they're different companies.
Oh, okay.
One's Finnish, one's Swedish. I'm
thinking. I'm thinking of when Sony Ericsson had their like, their combination sort of deal.
Yeah, I think Ericsson's now Sony's bitch, which is Japanese to say ultimately. But yeah, like that ripping at the Huawei infrastructure seems like a great idea if you have like an American company to sweep in and reap the rewards. But it seems like they didn't. So it's like, well, here's a Finnish company that's just going to benefit from this at the moment, and China's kind of pissed, but not pissed off enough to completely isolate all of Europe. So like, I guess it will probably be fine. And at the same time, like all of this, it's just maddening because it's like, who are you going to be left with at the end of the day? They're just like threatening everyone around them. They're threatening everyone they should be getting on board for a trade war with China, but just like alienating them. So yeah, speaking of, the foreign ministry of Denmark summoned the American charge d'affaires to answer a Wall Street Journal article that came out earlier that says that like what's her name? Tulsi Gabbard had basically ordered for a bunch of like spies to go into Greenland. Because Tulsi Gabbard asked for a bunch of spies when I think what she really wanted was like pollsters. Because the questions she seems to have is like, how do the Greenlandic people feel about independence? And how do they feel about mineral extraction being conducted by the United States? It's like, no, probably just get like a Pew survey to ask that. Yeah, so Denmark is pissed because it's just like in black and white. Hey, we're going to try fill this country with spies. And at the same time, Gabbard's response to this was just like, how dare the traitorous leches over at the Wall Street Journal print this? I was like, oh, okay, so you're just not going to deny it. You're just going to get angry at them for printing it. Cool.
I love how there was a really stupid kind of guy that existed in like 2016 that like thought she was cool.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan like fucking loves her.
Yeah. Red Foo from LMFAO.
From LMFAO. It's a massive Tulsi stan.
Yeah, he was.
It's really just gross supporter. Because you just like it's just horny men.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So that's
Tulsi Gabbard like
happening.
A massive like Indian nationalist too.
Yeah, people have pointed out that her kind of like, because everyone like on the left was kind of into it being like, oh, she's so anti-imperialist because of like a handful of things she said, and then it was just like, but she loves Modi, and it's just like, oh, yeah, Modi's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'll respond to Tulsi Gabbard by saying that I will die for Pakistan.
I think the only thing that's endeared Tulsi Gabbard to anyone in the last like couple of months is that she was the person sitting beside Elon Musk when he was wearing two hats on top of it, like two hats on top of each other, and he was like,
I didn't need to be reminded that happened. Yeah,
I know. I wear many hats. My hat's got a hat, and she just like audibly rolls her eyes, and everyone was like, yeah. All right, she's still kind of human, I guess.
Hating Elon Musk does not make you okay. That's just the general.
No. Even Hindu nationalists hate.
Yeah.
Elon Musk. Yeah. The last little thing of like this transition to a new shining world order is that we have the first month now where BYD has outpaced Tesla sales in Europe.
Salute.
So, salute.
We're moving the
I'm
show
seeing
to
way
Shanghai, baby.
That's where they put the foreigners. That's where we're gonna
That
go.
is where they put the foreigners, exactly.
Yeah.
I know enough about China. I know where I need to go. I know my people.
I know enough, which is to say, I know where to go, and I don't need to know anything else.
I don't need to know anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I was like, I know we were talking about it when I was over about like, oh yeah, I've seen like way more BYD vehicles in Ireland compared to like, I don't know, anytime I'd visited over the last couple of years. And I was like, oh, maybe I just wasn't around enough. And I was gaslighting myself and just saying, like, oh, maybe it was normal. But no, the stats came out. There's like a 359% increase in BYD sales since last year.
Yeah. Love it.
So, yeah. Welcome to the new Chinese century, I guess.
That's right. I was going to say it.
Yeah.
That's this is season whatever of Corner Späti. Chinese century.
The Rayman with a gun season, as opposed to the Dark Lubega arc, which we have now left. Yeah, French decade of the Chinese century. Very little on France this week, I guess, that I could find, but you know, they're still there.
Oh, they're
yeah.
I think France is cooking up something for us next week. I don't know what it is, but I got a feeling. You know, you know, we gotta cover all of our favorite countries. That is France and China. This week with China.
Oh yeah, it's
just a little.
Yeah, it's like watching like a you know, Game of Thrones, where it's just like there wasn't a lot of Daenerys this week in the episode, which that means like next week there's gonna be loads.
Yeah. Next week is the 3-episode arc on France.
France finally does it. Yeah,
France has achieved Chinese socialism.
Macron just comes out wearing one of the Chinese traditional kind of like suits things that Biden used to wear a lot of the time for whatever reason.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's going to be something that you're going to grumble about to like your grandkids when they're like reading the American history book that's like the beginning of the Chinese century, and the photo they use is Biden in one of those. And you'll just be there grumbling like, no, it was Trump who ushered in the Chinese century. Yeah. It was all him.
It was all him, and we have him to thank.
Yep, absolutely. Oh man, did you see the pictures of the Golden Dome?
Is that real? I thought you just made that.
I know. Doesn't it seem like something I just made in Photoshop? No.
What does the United States need?
It's not real. Define real.
This is the thing that then's just so funny with this shit too, of like how people don't understand how the United States, like people don't like. Where do I start with this? The average American, like, conservative fucking loser or whatever, defense freak, does not understand that the United States' biggest advantage defensively is that they are so far away from everyone else. The only way that someone can attack you are the United States has defense systems in play already. Like, you have to use a fucking ICBM or something like that. You know?
Yeah.
There are not, like, other conventional methods of attacking the United States unless you like literally do like, I don't know, Pearl Harbor 2.0. More 2 Pearl 2 Harbor.
2 Pearl 2 Harbor.
Like a ground invasion of the United States from like any country is, unless you are Canada or Mexico, which will never happen, is like near impossible. You don't need to like you'd have to like get something close enough to the coast of the United States, pretty much, to then like fire off a regular ballistic missile, which then the United States, I would assume, already has the defensive capabilities to shoot something like that out of the sky. Like literally, like things like fucking like I guess NORAD is for like nuclear shit, but nonetheless, like the idea of like, oh, we need to make our own Iron Dome is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Not if you're
dumb.
Johnny Iron Dome.
Yeah, not if you're just stupid and you're just a fool who believes this shit.
Mr. Dome. I inherited my family business, and all I'm
maybe
seeing
Trump
is dollar
saw
signs
like
in my
someone
eyes.
because you mentioned that it's like, oh, this is like Red Alert-ass graphics. It's like maybe someone just like played the Red Alert campaign for Trump, where you invade the United. I guess that's Red Alert 2, where you like invade the. I guess in both of them you invade the United States.
It does feel like someone's trying to forcibly unlock the next step in a tech tree.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
we could do it if we just.
It would be very funny though
will
that
it
then
into
if like
existence.
Trump thought that the Pentagon got destroyed by the Soviet Union. He's like, that's what that's what 9/11 was.
Absolutely it was. Did they ever state in either of the Red Dawn movies what Canada and Mexico are doing in this moment?
I don't know.
Like a communist ground invasion.
I do love the second Red Dawn though. That it is North Korea. That is so much funnier.
So it had to be
because it had to be. Yeah.
It was I've told you this before, right? It was originally China, and then they're like, every Hollywood exec was just like, no, we are so dependent on the Chinese viewership market, please. Make it someone else. Make it somehow that North Korea has launched a ground invasion against the continental US. Madness.
Yeah. And then Josh, whatever his name is, from Drake and Josh, saves America.
Yeah. You know, God bless him. Not Drake, though. He's canceled. Yeah. Drake's canceled. Josh is now a veteran, and you have to give up your seat in the list.
Yeah. He gets a discount at Denny's. You don't.
Yeah. He stopped the North Korean invasion of 2012, whenever that movie was made.
Sure. Yeah. I think it was something like that. That is a very like early 2010s film. You're right.
Yeah. The last hurrah of like medium budget action movies. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Is that our show for the week? Is that our show for the week?
That's the show for the week. Yeah, I think that's it. It's still kicking off over here.
Yeah. Thank you for that nice Europe sandwich.
You're very welcome. We'll see what happens as we continue on with this nonsense, because I'm looking forward to that 50% tariff's got to be like a negotiating tactic. It has to be. It's like, he thinks it is anyway. I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, every time that then someone has come back to Trump with like a no, he's like just dropped them. Like,
yeah,
China's, what was it, 145% tariff on U.S. goods?
I think we should do that. I think we should just.
We should just make a number up, just be like 2,000% or whatever, just like absurd, like to a point where it's like, you know, that Trump doesn't even understand what a tariff is to begin with. If the number is bigger, it'll scare him more. I mean, to be fair, a 2,000% tariff would be hilarious, but
if I was like Mara Shevchovich, I would just be like, no one in America, no one in Trump's cabinet can spell my name. I can say anything. They can't fucking find me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, 2,000% tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, and we'll blow up the Google headquarters in Dublin until like our demands are met.
Exactly. Yes. Europe needs to. That's the thing too, is that it's just so funny that would work, and then maybe not blowing up the Google building, but like Europe like could just do the thing that China did, but they're just too scared to. I think 50% tariffs is like fine, whatever, that's funny, but like just be dumb about it. Not like China knows that Trump is stupid. That's why they just make fun of him all the time, being like, sure, fine, whatever. You're gonna put tariffs on us. We're gonna put an astronomical tariff on your goods. This is how little. This is literally the Don Draper meme of like, you mean nothing to me.
Yeah. 2,000,000% tariffs and a full and complete stop of all the Viagra that's made in Ireland, which I believe is most of the global supply. So, yeah, good luck with that. Yep, we will catch you on the bonus episode. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.